300,000 euros for one iPhone, half a cent to fill the tank, 3,000 boxes of cash like this one to get 500 euros, or the armed police who raid the disco and we risked our lives. This is not science fiction, but just some of the crazy things that I experienced during my 2 trips in Venezuela. So in today's videos I will talk you about those crazy things. Everything I will tell you refers to 2015-2016, so it is possible that some things changed. Some things got better, while some other got even worse. Now, first, let me contextualize. When did I go to Venezuela? The first trip should have been in Christmas 2015 with my ex-girlfriend and my friend Eduardo. Too bad my friend Edo destroyed his food 20 days before leaving, so I just went with my girlfriend, which is now my ex. So, the next year, I went there with my friend Eduardo Mazzoli and 2 other friends. So this is why I did 2 separate trips. Now, why, with all the places in the world, we chose Venezuela? A series of things, including going to a crazy place to see what it's like. Eduardo wanted to go, take a super holiday with a low budget, and the tropic, guys! Okay, now that the context is clear, I will tell you all the crazy things that happened. The first thing you must do if you want to go to Venezuela is don't go there. Don't do it. Don't go. Forget it. Apart from that, for us, the first thing to do was to take the flight. Our goal was Isla Margarita, which is called the Pearl of Caribbean. So called because it's very beautiful. It's a typical tourist destination for Venezuelan. And it's also close to Los Roques, which you probably have heard. And the reason why my friend Eduardo has a house in Venezuela is because it was a typical destination for Italian a few years ago. There was even a non-stop flight from Milano to Porlamar, which is the capital of the island. Now, from the non-stop Milano Porlamar, we went to Milano, London, London, New York, New York, Caracas, and we still have to reach Porlamar. We went from 1 flight to 4. And the problem is that if you want to get to Porlamar, you have to buy a local flight, which you cannot buy online from abroad, but you have to buy it locally. And it can only be purchased by a Venezuelan person who knows how the system works. Because if you go to the airport, either you cannot buy it or you pay like 20 times more. That's because, in order to buy that flight, an ecosystem of bribes, commissions, and trafficking has been created. And we're talking about a normal flight. So we decided to spend the first night in Caracas, the most dangerous city in the world, along with Los Cabos. We have landed at Simon Bolivar Airport, a half an hour from Caracas, and as soon as we landed and I turned on the phone, I got the usual messages from the local company saying that the roaming charges for the internet usage were 29 euros per megabyte. That meant if I just opened Facebook and scrolled a couple times, that would have cost me like 290 euros. Of course, the next day we got a local SIM. By the way, our friend Leo, who lives there, got to the airport and took us to Caracas. And by the time we got there, it was night. On the way to Caracas, you could see every kilometer some small concrete buildings. Those were the police stations. Literally 1 per kilometer. And it wasn't the average police. I'm talking about militaries armed with AK-47. Once we got to Caracas, a ghostly sight. It was literally, to me, it felt like being in Blade Runner. I don't know if you watched the movie, but to me it looked like this. 1 minute you are under a tunnel, under the mountain, and as soon as you get out of the tunnel, boom, you see the city. It's some kind of valley. In the center you have the city made of concrete skyscrapers. And with concrete, I mean concrete. They all look the same. Just pure concrete, all gray. While all around the city, favelas, which in Venezuela are called barrio. I don't know if you know what the word favelas means. It's the poor part of a city. And at night, they all consist in small, tiny lights. I really wanted to take pictures and videos, but taking the phone out inside the car in the highway could have meant death. In fact, the highway is full of criminals patrolling the roads with the motorcycles, which, if they see you inside the car with something valuable, they point a gun at you, and if you're not quick enough, they could shoot you. So it's clear why Caracas is the most dangerous city in the world. We're talking about 1 murder per 1,000 inhabitants per year. Once we got to the city, the first thing we heard was a gunshot, and I got a little scared, but for the people there it was normal. But then I realized something weird. My friend Leo, which was driving the car, was not stopping at the red lights. And I looked at him and said, man, why are you driving like that? And he told me, no, when the sun goes down, you must never stop the car in Caracas, not even at the red lights, because you risk being attacked. Even if you go pick someone at his place, you cannot stop to wait for him. You have to keep driving until he goes down, you pick him up and go straight. That's crazy. The following day, we took the local plane and got to Isla Margarita. It's a really big island if you consider that going from Mar on the west side to Punta Arenas on the west side, it took more than an hour. The landscape we saw as soon as we landed was really strange. Apart from the typical tropical nature and lots of roadside huts selling fruits, there was a continuous alternation between half-abandoned buildings and super brand new buildings with high walls and electrified wires to protect from criminals. Finally, we got to the hotel, which is managed by Leo's father, an Italian man who went there since 30, 40 years. And don't forget that 15, 20, 30 years ago, Venezuela was growing. It was seen like a good place to invest. The hotel features some rooms as normal room, while some others were sold as a timeshare. I don't know if you know what a timeshare is. To make it quick, if you take an apartment, instead of buying the whole apartment, you buy just some weeks of that apartment. So that apartment is divided in 52 weeks, and let's say you buy 8 weeks. That means that every year for those 8 weeks, the apartment is yours. So that's why my friend Eduardo has a house in Venezuela. He doesn't actually own the apartment, he just owns some weeks. And the view from the hotel was this. On one side, you have the beautiful sea. While on the other side, yeah, I can't deny you that the first days that I was there, it was quite hard to adapt. And aside from the ugliness of the things, you always live with that constant fear of, getting robbed, getting killed, something bad happens to you, and you can't do anything about that, considering also the corruption of the police. Also, throughout the island, there was water rationing. That meant, as you can see from the sign, the water was available just a few hours a day. And that was quite uncomfortable because maybe you got home dirty and sweat and you had to wait like 4 hours to get a shower. So now there is the craziest chapter of the whole holiday, the money. We have successfully got to Isla Margarita, but we haven't exchanged money yet. And you're probably wondering why. In order to understand why, we're going to talk about 2 key topics: the currency exchange and the inflation. There are 2 exchange rates in Venezuela. There is the official one and the one offered by the illegal market. The official exchange rate is what the bank or the foreign cards apply to you, while the rate offered by the illegal market, which from now on I will call the black exchange, just because I don't know the English word to say that, but in Italian we say black exchange, okay? Because illegal market is called black market. Just to be clear, this word has nothing to do with black people. It's just the way we call it in Italian. I don't know why. So the black exchange is what you get if you change money illegally on the streets. They actually deal money, like drug dealers. But what's the difference? In November 2016, with €1 you will get 10 bolivares. While with the black rate, you will get 3,000 bolivares. 300 times more. If you don't believe me, look at the official exchange rate here. The reason why this is happening, it's complex. I can't explain you now. It would take another 1 hour long video. But bottom line, we had to change the money from a local dealer. And you have to find a trusted one, because as soon as you land, there's plenty of people offering to exchange money. And that's cool, wow, nice, let's do that. Yeah man, I can exchange you money, but let's not do it here because it's illegal. Let's go just back there and do it so, Now, if you do that with a stranger, if you're lucky, he would steal your money and run away. If you're unlucky, he will rob you or kill you as well. So you need someone you can trust. So we had this trusted dealer, we gave him €500 and he left. But he was trusted, so after 2 hours he came back. And this you are seeing is what he gave us for €500. A bag full of cash. In that photo, I felt like Pablo Escobar. And just to give you an idea, that was 1,500,000 bolivares. And it's like having $1.5 million made of $50 and $100 bills. That's what it will look like. But at this point, okay, you may ask yourself how much things actually cost, because you can have all the money in the world, but if you don't know the prices. So I will give you some prices. Beer at the hut, 300 bolivares. Funny story, when I went there to buy it, I paid 1,000 bolivares. Then my friend Eduardo, who speaks Venezuelan, went there and he paid 300. Yeah. Bottle of Coke and Room, 4,500. Burgers at the restaurant, 8,500. Table with the bottle of room at the disco, 30,000. 50 inches smart TV, 3,300,000. Now, like I said, you have to pay cash. So if you pay cash with the black exchange, the prices become: beer at the hut, 10 euro cents. Bottle of Coke and Room, 1.5 euro. Burgers at the restaurant, 2.80 euros. Table with the bottle of room at disco, 10 euros. 50 inches smart TV, 1,100 euros. But if you pay with the European or American credit card, so you get the official exchange, the prices become: beer at the hut, 60 euros. Bottle of Coke and Room, 450 euros. Burgers at the restaurant, 850 euros. Table with the bottle of room at the disco, 3,000 euros. 50 inches smart TV, 330,000 euros. Unfortunately, I didn't take a picture of the iPhone, but the price was the same as the TV. It cost around 3 millions, which were 300,000 euros. I just put in the title the iPhone because it was more clickbait. And if you don't believe it, you have the television as example. So the thing is that when you are in Venezuela, you must forget about the credit card. Leave it at home. Don't take it there. Because if they rob you and steal your credit card, they will empty your account just to buy 2 bananas. So this makes us understand that the official exchange rate is useless. The whole economy, the whole market is based on the black exchange. And why is that? Because if it was based on the official exchange, the iPhone, which costs 1,000 euros, would cost 10,000 bolivares, okay? Because the official exchange rate is 1 to 10. But if on the black market you can get 10,000 bolivars for 3 euros, you would pay that iPhone 3 euros, which it doesn't make sense. So that's why the imported goods are based on the black exchange rate, in order to maintain the original price. While the local goods, like fruit, fish, and other things, are based on the local price, and they are super cheap. We pay like 2 euros for 200 oysters, 3 euros for 3 lobsters, 10 cents for 1 beer. And now we get to the dramatic chapter, the inflation. Why did they give us a ton of cash for 500 euros? Why? Why is the biggest bill 100 bolivares if the prices are like 1 million bolivares? It's not because they are stupid and they didn't print it. It's just because the inflation's boom exploded. So 2 years before, these bills were actually worth some money. And I will give you just a few numbers to understand the inflation. In December 2015, with 1 euro, you would get 1,000 bolivares. In November 2016, 11 months later, with 1 euro, you would get 3 times more, which is 3,000 bolivares. In December 2016, 1 month later, with 1 euro, you would get 6,000 bolivares. Twice the months before. And this is not the crazy part. This is actually normal. Because 1 to 2 years later, with 1 euro, you would get 3 million bolivares. 1,000 times more. That means that that bag full of money, which was worth 500 euros, 1 year later it was worth 50 cents. In order to get those 500 euros, you would have needed 1,000 beds like that one. And think about how hard it is to live in Venezuela. You work your whole month, you save money, which the month later are worth nothing. How can you save money? How can you live? How can you make plans? You just live the day. And the salary at the time was 30,000 bolivares per month, which was 10 euros. And if you want to find a source for the black exchange rate, you can go on Dollar Today, which is this website, and pay attention. The value you're seeing there is not what we had back then, because it's based on the new currency. When we went there, the currency was Bolívares Fuerte. After that, due to the inflation, they introduced Bolívares Soberano, which is the Bolívares Fuerte without 5 zeros. So 100,000 Bolívares Fuerte is 1 Bolívares Soberano. So doing the math, if today 1 euro is 1,300,000 Bolívares Soberano, it means that 1 euro now is 131 billion Bolívares Fuerte. In 4 years, we have gone to 1 euro being 3,000 Bolívares to 1 euro being 131 billion Bolívares. Do the math. It's incredible. Hey bro, I have an idea. I know I'm not stupid. This is the first thing that I thought. Bro, in 2016, the TV cost 3 millions. So with the exchange rate at 3,000, that's 1,000 euros. If you return 1 year later with the exchange rate at 3 millions and the TV cost 3 millions, you paid 1 euro, right? Obviously not. All the prices are based on the black exchange. That means that every shop changes the prices every single day based on the black exchange. So the TV, which in 2016 cost 3 millions, the months later cost 6 million. The year later cost 6 billion. Bro, listen to me. I got another idea. Yeah. The black exchange rate is 1 to 3,000, right? Yes. While the official exchange rate is 1 to 10, right? Yes. So here's the deal. You change 1 euro and you get 3,000 bolívares. Then you go to the bank with those 3,000 bolívares and change them for euros. So you get 300 euros. That would be beautiful, but it doesn't work. Because if you go to the bank and show them the bolívares and ask them, can you change me then? What do they say? They will tell you, fuck you! No bank will ever exchange you bolívares. So after the money chapter, let's move to the next chapter, which is travel stuff. Our favorite spot was Playa El Yaque, one of the most famous beaches because in the golden years of Venezuela, the best windsurfing sportsmen came from that beach. And the reason is that every single day of every year, you have the same exact wind with the same exact direction. The Venezuelan world champions were born and raised on that beach. And there was plenty of people doing windsurf and kitesurf there. So my friend Edo got back to the windsurf after many years, and I learned kitesurf. And there, in that beach, I understand one of the many reasons why Venezuela has fallen so badly. One of the things that I realized is the mentality. Now, I was taking kitesurfing lessons, and I was paying them really a low price for me, which was like 30 euros per 2 hours, which for the Venezuelans was pure gold. If you consider that 1 month's salary is 10 euros, I was paying 3 salaries every 2 hours. So the first day I got there and I organized the lessons for the following day. So we all agreed to meet there at 9:30 in the morning. So I got there at 9:30 in the morning and no one was there. Everything was closed. And I said, okay, maybe I was too early. 10 o'clock, no one. 10:30, no one. 11 o'clock, no one. Finally, at 11:30, the girl arrives. And I go to her and say, are you okay? What happened? And she looked at me and say, why? And I look at her and say, we said 9:30, you got here at 11:30. I was worried that something bad happened to you. And she looks at me and says, tranquilo, don't worry, we will start soon. And then with the laziest slowliness possible you can imagine, she opens the shop, she sits there. At 12, the teacher comes and, oh, there's no more wind, no lessons for today. So the teacher sits there, drinking the beer, and I had no lesson. I mean, they are broke. They don't have money to eat. They don't have food to eat. They don't have tourists because nobody's going anymore to Venezuela. And then they find the first tourist of the year, which was me, which is capable of paying 3 salaries every 2 hours. So if I was them, I would have worked like 20 hours a day to get those money that I needed for living. If the appointment was at 9:30, I would have gotten there at 6 a.m. in the morning and prepared everything, prepared the breakfast. What's wrong with them? They didn't want to work, they didn't want to do anything. And the same story occurred everywhere I went, to the restaurant, to the bar, to the shops, to the market. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that all the people are like that, okay? If there are people that don't want to do anything, there are also many people who wants to do stuff, who wants to work, who have dreams, who want to study and who can't because of the situation of the country, okay? So this is something pretty bad, but you can understand that if you are poor and hungry and starving, and then the occasion of your life comes to you, and you just sleep and drink beer, can you understand that there's something wrong? I really don't understand, really. Anyway, we had a great time between surf, sea, sunsets, parties. The nature was really beautiful. We saw some beautiful places like Restinga, which is this infinite beach which is like 10-15 kilometers, which is entirely made of shells. That's not sand, that's shells. And aside of the beach you have this swamp made of mangroves, which is a beautiful park, and in the roots of the mangroves, oysters grow. So our daily life was a succession of crazy things that I'm now going to tell you about. As I told you, it's a place full of contrasts. You go from abandoned buildings and total discomfort to brand new buildings and stuff. And there are malls, like in the US. So you go in the malls and say, what? Brand new super malls with Burger King, Adidas official shop, and they are all empty. I mean, they are full of stuff to buy, but they are empty of people. Nobody is going there to buy it, because nobody has money to buy them. And we were wondering why those shops were open every day if nobody went there to buy. How can they live? How can they survive? And even the local people didn't have an answer for that. As you may have guessed by now, we were rich there. But we were never actually spending money. Why? Because 30 euros was 90,000 bolivares, which we had to pay all in 100 bills. Every time we had to spend like 15 minutes just to count the money for paying. And they were using these machines to count the money, which were all broken. So every time we had to recount all the money. And the cash we needed for dinner was so much that we couldn't put it in our pockets. So we had to bring a backpack just for the cash. The backpack full of cash. Can you imagine that? Since the socialist government decided to close all the businesses and do their ingenious maneuvers, such as importing everything and closing all the local productions, because no capitalism, just socialism. With the crisis, they ended up not having food, because they didn't have money to import and they didn't have the farms to produce. So you went to the supermarket and to fill the shelves, you had to repeat the same products for like 10 meters, and it was 90% beer, rum and alcohol, while on the food shelves, no food. Empty. There was no food. And the meat, I would never eat that meat. And the sad thing is that ordinary people could buy just limited amounts of food, and those food would then be sold at the black market. So the scarcity of food also reflected on restaurants, where many things were on the menu but were not actually there. Because to get the food, the restaurant had to buy it from the black market, paying it more, and that wasn't sustainable for them. So I remember that one day I got to the Burger King and I asked for an hamburger, and they said, no hamburger. I said, why? It's called Burger King, you have no hamburgers. No, only fries. Only fries. Only fries. Only fries. Only fries. So I'll take some fries. But they found a solution. To solve the problem, the leader, Maduro, had a brilliant idea. He decided to give rabbits to the people with this idea. Feed the rabbits, let them reproduce, so you can kill the rabbits and eat the rabbits. Obviously, if you give a rabbit to a family, can you imagine that they're going to kill him and eat him? Obviously not. All the families fell in love with these tiny rabbits and nobody actually ate them. So, not only they had children to feed, but now they also have rabbits to feed. I don't know if you've ever been in Milano or another European city. Do you know the pigeons? where if you go to the Piazza del Duomo or any other place, you see thousands of pigeons. Well, in Venezuela, you don't have pigeons, but you have stray dogs. Everywhere you go, dogs. Dogs everywhere. And one evening we also found an orgy of dogs in the front of our hotel, and that was quite weird, I would say. But the most incredible thing was the price of gasoline. As we can see from this photo, we paid 185 bolivares for 30 liters. That means 6 cents for 30 liters. Less than 10 cents for a full tank. And the year before, my bad I didn't take the photo, the gasoline cost 10 times less. That would mean that in 2015 we paid a half a euro cent for the full tank. That's free. It's actually free. Now, with the 95% male audience of this channel, obviously I cannot not talk about girls. There were girls, beautiful girls, but the shocking thing that I couldn't understand was the amount of fake boobs that I saw there. I mean, they have no money to buy a banana, but they have money to get breast implants. None of us could understand it. And even when I asked the girls, they couldn't explain how. And the other shocking thing is how they dance. Me as European, which when I dance I look like a tree in the wind, I was really shocked by them. Everyone, even the worst one, is a pro dancer. They have it in the blood. How can they do that? So I really was ashamed to dance, but luckily they go crazy for Europeans. One night, I cannot forget it, I was there, and suddenly a huge guy comes to me and said, "Have you seen that girl?" And I said, "You mean that girl?" He looked at me in the eyes and said, "Yeah, that's my sister." And I looked at him and said, "Oh, sorry." And I was really scared he was going to kill me. And so he kept staring at me and said, "Man, she fell in love for you, but she's too shy to tell you. So please go there and introduce yourself to my sister." What? Am I dreaming? Really, for the first time in my life when I went to the club, I had to do nothing but wait, and the girls came to me. That was paradise. And I'm talking about normal girls, students, people. In addition to this, I must say that the moments of discomfort were a lot. Like this guy, which we saw one night, and we didn't know whether it was alive or not. Like the queues in the ATM, where people was not allowed to withdraw more than 10,000 bolivares. Or like that day where I went to a kebab shop, and just outside of it I saw two kids, which were like 8 years old, and they were drinking tequila, totally drunk. And you know, here you see children playing with the toys, while there you see children drinking. And it's not their fault if they're drinking, it's just that they're unlucky to be born in the wrong part of the world. So those things made me quite sad. Another symbol of the disaster of this situation is that the police actually robs you. One night a friend of mine got pulled off by the police. He stopped, they asked for documents, and then they asked for the iPhone, the tablet. They just pulled out the gun and said, "Give me everything you have." And if you get robbed by the police, who do you go to? So, talking about the police, we get to the final chapter where I explain you the night we almost risked our lives. We were at the club, and then a random guy goes to my friend and asks him for a cigarette. My friend takes out a cigarette, gives it to the guy, and the guy gives to my friend 100 bolivares, which for us was nothing, and my friend said, "Oh, don't worry about that, keep the money and keep the cigarette." But at that point, the girl that was with us pulled my friend and told him, "Take the money." My friend said, "Why should I take the money? They are poor. Those money are nothing for us. Take the money." So my friend took the money and put it in the pocket and then went to the girl and said, "Why did I take the money?" Because that is a trick they use to see if you are rich. If you don't accept the money, it means you have money. So once you get out of the club, they will probably rob you and eventually kill you. So we were lucky that that night that girl was with us and told us what to do. But The night ended with the police entering the club with the AK-47 and yelling, "Everybody out!" So we ran out of the club as fast as we could, because you know, police bursting in is something normal. So this ends the crazy story of our trips in Venezuela. This trip was a strong experience that, on one hand, left us with beautiful emotions that all of you that made a holiday with friends know what I'm talking about. While on the other hand, made me think a lot about the fact that I am lucky to be born in Italy. I am lucky to be born in the happy side of the world. Because there are places in the world where many things that here are granted, like water and food, are not granted there. It would be very nice if Venezuela can get out of the crisis and become the beautiful country that it could be. Because even if I saw many people without desire of doing anything, lazy, I also saw many people, many young guys and girls who wants to build their own future, who want to fulfill their dreams, but they can't because they are born in Venezuela. I really hope that things could change in the next years, because I really wish I could go back there and find a better and safer place.